Hey, Brandon, with 2 picks, both offense, what would you say was the focus on offense for those first 2 picks as opposed to those happen to be the players on your board? Meaning, could you have just as easily gone defense, or was this the philosophy?
No, it was following the board. Tonight, Osiris was he was the highest guy on the board, and that's why those are the easy ones, and it was getting when we were coming to the next pick on defense, it could have gone. It was getting close to where it could have been offense too, but offense was taken certain number of picks before, I don't remember, but same thing. By the time he was on the clock, he was the highest guy on the board.
By how much?
Enough. Yeah.
The reason I ask is because a lot of people thought he looked like he had some first round juice.
You talking about Osiris?
Osiris, yeah.
Yeah. He was clearly.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I was talking about Dorian on the second one, but Osiris, he was clearly on. He was alone.
When you talk about, Brandon, how that, you look what you've done in free agency at the guard position, and now you add him, maybe I would think that accentuates an obvious priority.
Yeah, I mean, you can never go wrong adding up front, and this was a guy we spent a lot of time around and brought him in as well, and just I know the Coach Napier down at Florida, spent some time with him, and I went down to practice visiting with him, and he just raved about the young man. He was excited to bring him over from Louisiana with him as a guy to, this is a guy that's the culture I want to bring here to Florida. And cool thing about him, they didn't just put him in as the starter. They started him on the 3rd team and made him earn his way, and by the time they were ready to start playing games, he had earned a starting spot at Florida.
What role do you see, or how do you see Dorian fitting in? Got 4 guys in the linebacker room that are all basically the same size.
Well, he'll just add to the mix. He's another guy. I don't know, like when you say the same size, what do you mean?
Well, I mean, is he, you view middle, outside?
We'll start him outside, and we'll see. We try to make these guys somewhat interchangeable. So this is going to be a much more complex system. So we'll gradually, again, some of these guys come from a more complex system. I would say this is a simpler system that he's coming from, just what we know about him, the time we've spent with him. So it's mentally, it will take him from a football foundation a little bit more in our defense. It's not it's not as complex as what he's going to have here. So we'll start him at a spot, but I'm not going to say he could never be a dual guy. I wouldn't think year one, we would do much of a duel with him, but we'll get him in here. He's a tackling machine. He's very athletic. I'm not going to say he's going to come in here and start, but at a minimum, I see this guy earning a jersey. Matt Smiley's going to be excited to add him to the group to get a jersey, and then we'll see what kind of play time he earns this year. But it could also be a guy that's a backup for us this year if he doesn't earn a starting role, and potentially down the road add a starting role.
Torrence has played a lot of football. Just kind of what do you like best about him, and how do you see his development so far from a technique standpoint?
Yeah, I mean, he's a big man, Mark. It's size matters up in there when you're facing some of those guys, and we got some really good D tackles in this division, and so having a guy who can anchor versus power, that's probably what he does best, and he's got length, to get on guys and hold them off. You're not going to see people running down his cylinder. I thought you saw, sometimes you go from a lower level to SEC, which is, as we know, probably the highest level, in college football, and it wasn't too big for him. And so I expect that same transition here. It's not going to be easy. He'll have to come in here and earn the role. We're not going to give him anything, but, size, strength, power, those would be, his top attributes.
What side do you see Osiris playing on, left or right?
Well, he'll just compete. We us. We'll put him in there, and all these guys will come in. We're not moving him in and saying you're starting day one. He's going to come in here, and we'll try them all around and get the best 5, once it's time for games.
And what impressed you about Osiris's decision to leave, Louisiana Lafayette and test himself at the SEC level? And I guess just the confidence that he had in knowing that he could do that. What does that tell you about his character?
Yeah, I mean, I think the story that I like was he didn't, he knew the head coach, and he didn't go in there and say, I'll transfer if you give me the starting job. And he just came in there and, he worked, and this is exactly what Coach Napier said. He just, put his head down, worked, started with the 3s, moved up to the 2s, and eventually, earned that starting role. And that's what you want, a guy that's not afraid of competition. He's going to earn everything, and it'll be the same adjustment here, as he moves to the NFL.
He talked about how, this meetings here that he really fit in, and it sounds like that's probably that same wavelength there. Did you notice that during any of the multiple meetings with him? Like, when did that start to show for you?
Yeah, we enjoyed, most all of our visits, but some of them stand out, and I would say just it felt natural for him and for us. I know that, I always follow up with the people that, deal with him besides me, and I know the coaches really enjoyed him and thought he's going to come in here. This is how we would use him. This is what we would do. These are the type of run game things we would do with him. This is how he'll anchor and pass. It meshed well. He really, I know when we called him tonight, he was excited to, Buffalo sounds like was one of the places he was hoping to get selected. So you always like that when they're excited that, that just chose him.
You mentioned that he could play tackle, but would you see him with any flexibility, Osiris?
I think we'll start him at guard. If he proves and wants to do that he can go out there. But right now, I would see his best chance, to help us would probably be inside.
And talking to Osiris at the combine, one of the things that he mentioned was blocking for a mobile quarterback in Anthony Richardson in Florida, and how he thought that was going to help him translate to the NFL. Is that something, is that part of the equation when you look at a guy like that, and Josh Allen obviously being mobile?
Yeah, I mean, we definitely looked at him in that offense. We went back and watched him at Louisiana also, and it's a plus. He's been around it. He knows that, the ball's not necessarily coming out as soon as the quarterback's back foot, it hits his back step, that, you got to stay on your guys. You got to keep blocking, and obviously they did that at Florida, and we know Josh, loves to extend plays, and so the same thing will definitely be asked here.
First, Dalton and Osiris are both already 23 years old. Drafting older guys, is that a philosophy thing?
No.
In previous years you've drafted younger guys in the first round, especially. Is it COVID had impacted that at all? Like, is there anything to that? Is it more of a coincidence?
It's just a coincidence. It really is. We're just trying to get good players. You love it, yeah, if they're 21 and you're going, man, this guy's got great upside and they haven't hit a ceiling. But I think this guy, he's played 1 year of major college football. I think there's more with him, and I think, we can get his, his body weight, even better with, adding more muscle mass to make him more athletic and more powerful.
Brandon, looking at tomorrow, as things stand right now, you guys only have 2 more picks. If you were to, maybe try to make a move to maybe get some more draft capital, is that something that you guys look at like tonight or like first thing tomorrow morning? Like, when do those conversations possibly start about maybe trying to find a partner to make a move to get more picks?
Yeah, I mean, and we had opportunities tonight with both picks, but it just, where we were going to have to go to. With the first one with Osiris, we didn't even consider it. This one, as it was getting close, we had, several teams that were interested in the pick, but all of them were going to have to drop too far, and we just felt, our board could get cleaned out to where we'd be picking too low for giving up a player of Dorian's, caliber. But as far as tomorrow, we don't have to, we don't have a fourth. I would have loved to have gotten one, but at the same time, I don't want to give up a good player just to say, oh, well, we added a pick. So we'll have to be patient in the fourth, and then, we'll see. We're early 5, so we'll see where that goes. If there's a player there we really feels the value, we'll do it. If not, we'll see if we can add something later in the 5th, 6th, or even the 7th.
Brandon, as far as I know you said you're following the board, but you could, I mean, in terms of maneuvering or whatever could have been done, from a defensive standpoint, did you go into this draft feeling, hey, look, if the board takes us to offense the way it did, other than just shrugging and say that's how it was, is there a part of you that says, hey, this defense, even with some struggles and so forth, can find its way with what you have? Like, is that a thought, a philosophy on your part, on the collective part of the team?
Yeah, I mean, we're definitely, Vic, I get your question. We're definitely looking. We got guys on defense that were like, hey, if they're there at the right value. I think, with the first 2 picks, it was clearly the offensive guy, was clearly the best player. And so you really didn't even look there. This time the defensive player was, and I think we'll see. But, we feel very good. We did have some injuries in various spots. And, we feel some guys – will play even better this year, another year in the system, another year in the NFL, just continuing to mature, especially some of the guys up front where we drafted some younger players, and they know we're counting on more consistency and more from them. So we're excited about that. But, we do have a couple more picks, and if there's a defensive guy that we think makes sense to add to the group, we wouldn't hesitate to do it.
How much are you really making a point of emphasis on making this again one of the most competitive rosters that you have put together?
Yeah, I mean, that's the key. We're trying to find competition. You'd love to just sit there and say I'm drafting starters, but that's not realistic, especially in certain spots where you've got, we just drafted a linebacker, and we got Matt Milano, who's one of the best in the game. So you're not necessarily saying he's going to plug in and start outside backer, but you just draft good football players. Things happen, injuries happen. You never know. It's hard to predict. Like I said, I know in Carolina one year, we had just paid a center, in a guy named Justin Hartwig, and we had Ryan Khalil, high in the second round or bottom of first, somewhere up there, and he was sticking out, and you're trying to find somewhere else. We just paid this center, but ultimately take a good football player, and he was good enough that we moved on from the guy we paid, and he became an all-pro. So that story's always stuck with me, and there's been other ones, but that one was a clear one of take good football players, don't worry about who's starting right now. Injuries, other things happen, contracts get in the way, and it'll all kind of settle itself.
You spent a lot of time with Osiris. You mentioned going down talking about, with his coaches, it's the Senior Bowl.
Senior Bowl.
How much did it help having a year of games, like getting to know you with Aaron Cromer, to then go into this scouting cycle and say, okay, this is what worked, what did it, and this is what we're specifically looking for?
Yeah, that's a good question, Matt. I think last year we were definitely getting to know Chrome and what he was looking for. It was Dorsey's first year. What tweaks did he want to make from an offensive system, whether it's pass protection, run game stuff, whether you're doing outside zone, mid zone, gap scheme, how do you want to, kind of mix your offense up? Definitely a good feel, and Chrome understanding how we see players too. So I felt even going back to free agency with McGovern, that was one where scouting and coaching were in sync with what we need. Last year, we were definitely trying to figure that out, and so Osiris was a guy, like I was telling Catherine earlier, that we felt was, a good mix, throughout, and especially when he came on his 30 visit, that was just like, man, this guy could really fit here in Buffalo.
Right. To go back to Vic's question, and I know how the board fell the way it fell for you when you wound up getting a tight end and a guy who's big and can protect Josh. Is there some, maybe relief is not the right word, but is there some aspect that you're pleased with adding those 2 pieces on offense, because perhaps to shake up an offense that seemed a bit stale as the year progressed last year?
Yeah, I mean, we were definitely hoping to add some more pieces this offseason. I mean, I'm excited about, some of the guys we added earlier, Hardy and Sherfield, some different pieces. And again, just looking for weapons, whether it's speed, whether it's, Kincaid, we feel could be a mismatch type, whether you want to call him a tight end, he is a tight end, but he'll be, as I said last night, flexed out and trying to get him on the right matchup. Inside, down the seam, all those things. So just trying to add more pieces, more competition. And I think, again, up front, we brought in McGovern, David Edwards, Ike Bucker's back fully last year. He obviously was the Achilles thing. So I feel like we've got some really good competition. And, it'll be fun when we get to training camp. Hopefully all these guys are healthy to, let them battle it out and see who's the best 5.
Osiris didn't allow a sack his entire college career. How often do you see that from a player who faced, I think, over 1,500 pass rush snaps?
Yeah, that's remarkable. Just from a focus standpoint, we'll watch really good players that you see get drafted at the top, but sometimes they get bored or they lose focus. Like nobody can beat you. So, I'm not sure there's very many people that have that on their resume. So that speaks to his desire to be great every single play, no matter whether you're playing, Alabama or you're playing, the Sisters of the Poor.
I know with
It's a tough team.
I'll get that to you offline.
with Torrence and McGovern, you draft him, you sign McGovern. With Bates, I know like over the course of his time with you guys, you've had him at all 5 spots.
Yeah.
Is maybe some time at tackle at some point out of the realm of possibility for him, or do you see him solely interior?
Yeah, I think first and foremost there, but we know, we've always said Bates could go get us out of a game at tackle. I think we'll still rotate him, at the guards and then backing up Mitch at center. But I have no doubt that he could go out there and get us out of a game at tackle. I don't know if we would, have him doing a lot of that, but maybe enough just to make sure he's ready, from a game day relief standpoint if injury struck.
Did any particular positions stick out where there's still value heading into day 3, whether on offense or defense?
Yeah, I think there's, there was a little bit of run on receivers, but there's always so many receivers. I think some of those guys, again, we're going to have to wait a while to, at least it's early 5, but we're going to have to, get through that 4th round. So, we'll see. That's probably the position that I remember had the most. Maybe some corners. There was starting to be a little bit of run there, but I feel like we still had some DBs on the board.
How much experience of not having that 4th round pick makes you a little bit at ease now going into the meat and potato round?
It kills me. I hate not having a pick, but again, I slept better knowing that we were able to get Kincaid last night. So in the end, it was worth it.
Pertaining to Elena's question about the players being a little bit older and having COVID and extra years and all those kids are coming out a little bit, these young men are coming out a little bit older potentially. How much do you weigh that in the factoring of arc, or you've seen more tape on them, you get a little more tape that they stick around longer, but they're a year older? How do you reconcile that?
Yeah, I think we still consider what is their ceiling, and we talk about that. We talk about where's their floor, where's their ceiling. Some guys, they're truly have a low floor but a high ceiling, and do they have the intangibles to achieve it? Some guys, even though they're 23, they've been playing at a small program. We feel we get them in here, we can still do stuff with them. But there's others that even at major programs that we go, this guy's tapped out. He's a good player, but what you're seeing now at whatever SEC or ACC, whatever school he's at, that's probably who you're going to see here. So age does matter for sure, but it's not the end all be all.
Without any secrets, are there traits that lend itself to that, where you look at a couple of very specific traits, and I'm sure it's position to position, but where you say there's room here beyond, I guess, size or putting up power? Are there things that you look at and say?
Yeah, you look at what's their explosiveness, and you look at like guys being able to bend and things that the program they've been in, all those things. We look at some of the things that they get tested for at the combine. Some of those guys that go and we do certain tests with them. The guys that come in for the 30 visits, and we talk with our staff on. That's one of the things before the draft of, hey, I don't know that we can do a lot with this person, and some of it's injury related. Like, this guy's got a degenerative knee, and it's always going to kind of hold him back. Yes, he's a great athlete, but this is going to be a little bit of an issue.
You ever have a Saturday with only 2 picks?
I don't know. I wish you guys would find me another one before I get here tomorrow. But no, I don't know. Like I said, it was hard. What's that?
What do you do with that free time?
I just, sit there and get annoyed when guys I like come off the board. But no, we'll stay ready, and again, hopefully there's a really good player at 5. If not, that we're like. If not, then I'll definitely try and move back.
Does it change how you have to evaluate or scout with the transfer portal and guys? I mean, now you have a couple guys you drafted that started at one school, went to another school, it's different competition, 1 year at the SEC. How does that work for you?
Yeah, I think you look at everything. You definitely, how was the transition? What kind of system are they playing in? Are they walking into, is it going to be a major curve here? You always ask, why did they transfer? Were they running from competition, or just better opportunity? Their coach left. You always try to find out and make sure it's not something that you think, if this guy gets here and doesn't win the starting job, he's going to be asking for a trade or whatever. But every situation's kind of its own, especially nowadays because it's so easy to transfer for pretty much anything.